Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for May 16th, 2016. In case you didn't know, yesterday was the beginning of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and the Atlantic season begins in just a little less than 2 weeks. And so it's time to start talking tropics once again. So here's the update for today. We're going to start off with the sea surface temperature anomalies, departures from normal. As you can see, a little bit of a ribbon of blue in the equatorial tropical Pacific here. The Atlantic overall warmer than normal over a vast area, especially in the tropical Atlantic. But the northern Atlantic colder than normal, and all of these different factors are going to be going into and have been going into different forecasts for the upcoming season. There are so many different things to consider. Sea surface temperatures, the departures from normal, how much heat content there is, what's the wind shear going to be like, all kinds of things. I tell you, it is a wonder that they're even able to get close to being accurate with some of these forecasts. Sometimes they're not, and so it's an evolving science, but there's a lot that can go into it, that's for sure. Hey, look, this is what it was like at the beginning of the year when the El Nino was really strong here in the equatorial Pacific. Again, this is what it looks like today, January 4th, and today. That's pretty remarkable, wouldn't you say? Looking at the subsurface, lots of cold water. This is not a computer forecast. This is an actual snapshot of the subsurface of the equatorial Pacific. So here's the surface of the ocean. This is several hundred meters deep. This is the eastern Pacific over here, and this would represent the western side of the Pacific Ocean. So this is kind of like a slice through the middle, if you will, and this shows us the cold water relative to normal here, and it really does cover the entire area within this swath, and that is a lot of below normal water temperatures that are going to be working their way to the surface over time. And as such, the various models are seeing that and calling for a continued sharp drop in the La Nina. Well, the El Nino is dying, and it'll go into La Nina. But then, curiously, this model, the European, and it's 51 different members here, basically it's 51 runs of the same model with different variables to have different outputs. And so you're looking for the model mean or the average, and overall the average suggests that we will be into weak to maybe warm neutral conditions by the time we get to the peak of the season in the August through September-October time frame, roughly right through here. But there's been less and less of the ensemble members in this region, and more of them showing the dip. It's still early. It's only May. I think by the time we get into the summer, things will be a lot more clear, hopefully so, since that's obviously when the Atlantic season will be well underway. But this just sort of underscores, you have this one member that says, hey, we're going to go back to El Nino conditions. It is tough sometimes to know, with the different puzzle pieces even fit together remotely close to perfect, what might be happening in the upcoming season. So there you have it. So actual sea surface temperatures, looking at the Gulf of Mexico here, pretty much anything that I'm outlining in red and points south of there, warm enough for tropical development. 26 degrees Celsius or higher, roughly 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All of this region now warm enough, and the same holds true off the coast of the eastern United States and the western Atlantic here, pretty much very warm, ready for tropical activity in most areas, especially in the southern part of the area of the map. So why aren't we seeing anything? Why does it take until later in the season? Well, we can look at the upper level winds, and all these different wind barbs show us the strength of those upper level winds and the direction, and the net flow of everything is from west to east here across the tropics and the subtropics. So the whole region is just not favorable, and we can look at it from a different perspective with the different wind shear contours drawn in here. This comes from the University of Wisconsin Satellite Products site, by the way, a very nice and easy to navigate site to find these different tools. And you can clearly see that we have all of this westerly wind flow, 40, 50, 60 knots cutting across the tropics and the subtropics, and that's what you're expecting to see in the month of May. It takes until later in the summer for these westerlies to be confined to areas farther to the north up here in the northern latitudes, leaving lighter winds down south. So that's typically why we don't see much activity now. In the eastern Pacific, one little area to look at here, still 10% development chances. Look at that. It's just a little swirly. sitting out over here over marginal water temperatures. It does look interesting. You can clearly see a little bit of a counterclockwise twist to it, but very low cloud tops. The upper level winds cutting across, for one thing. Water temperatures, basically the environmental conditions are not conducive to development, so we're not going to see anything pop from it, which is great news. Even though it's way away from land, it's not going to have any impact at all, even if it were to develop, which it's not. So there. All right. Well, that's it for today. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Always an honor and a privilege to produce these videos for the users of Hurricane Pro and HD and people who watch it on YouTube via social media access. It's great to be able to do this for you, and hopefully you can take something from it. And I'll be doing these pretty much every day that there's something to talk about. And when things are kind of quiet, it'll be just once a week, usually on a Monday. And we'll look at the week ahead and talk about some educational things here and there. And then when things pick up again, jump back into doing it daily. All right? So have a great rest of your week ahead. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com and, of course, Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.